at some Salesforce dreaming events within the past couple of months, both in Lake Tahoe, which was a real hard place to be, and Atlanta, Georgia. So we're very pleased to go ahead and put this in webinar form, so all of you can go ahead and hopefully get some of the same value that the Salesforce Dreaming attendees got from this presentation. So the whole purpose of this presentation is really talking about how to make Salesforce really invisible to the Salesforce user, hopefully to drive adoption within your organizations. So we'll go ahead and get started right here. But first, I know it's Thursday, and I know it's the middle of the month. So I'm sure you guys are either have sent emails to your reps or your salespeople or your organization, your customer success people, or whomever. But you probably sent the emails already saying it's Thursday and they need to update their Salesforce because you're going to be running the forecast report. End of the month is coming up. So if you've already wrote that email, great. If you haven't, we've got a couple of great things that you can include here to try to spur your reps on to update Salesforce. The first is you could revoke their special parking places. That always seems to work with sales reps. They like to park really close to the building. No more expense lunches. I know if that was done for me, I'd be doing data entry almost immediately. Canceling the President's Club trip for people that don't update Salesforce. That's always a great way to motivate people to get stuff. At the very end, you can always call their mom to talk to them about making sure they update their Salesforce. And the reason I include this slide in here is because we do know I'm a salesperson. I've been a salesperson for a little over 25 years in one form or another. And whatever CRM I was always working on, and I use the term working with quotes, with air quotes. Whatever CRM I was working with, it was always a labor for my boss, for my administrator, my CRM administrator, to get me to do the updates that I needed to do. I was out there, flying by the seat of my pants, trying to go ahead and sell stuff and things to people. At the end of the day, I didn't like administrative work. I didn't like doing data entry, so it was very difficult for me to alt-tab or to open up a whole other application and type in all the information that I'd already, for all the calls I've had and all the phone calls and all the emails and everything else that I had conversations with. So from that aspect, I really understand how difficult your job is as Salesforce administrators and as people that are responsible for the CRM to try to corral that group of cats into a room and get them to go ahead and do what's required. Because from an intellectual standpoint, all salespeople, all Salesforce users understand that Salesforce needs to be updated to provide accurate forecasts, to provide great pipeline information, to populate all those dashboards that you create. But understanding something intellectually and understanding something emotionally are the difference between why people eat less broccoli and more cheeseburgers. They know broccoli's good for them, but boy, those cheeseburgers really taste good. So in this event, what we hope to accomplish is to provide you some tools and some strategies and even some tactics to make your CRM more visible to your end users, so they can do what's required to get the information in without having you have to crack the whip so much. So first off, I'd like to talk about a little bit about what we call the truth about CRM. And here's this article from CIO Magazine earlier this year, May 1st, where it said a typical member of a field sales force is independent. They don't adopt or accept CRM very easily. Now, when I talked about this both in Atlanta and in Tahoe, the whole room kind of said, yes, exactly. This is exactly what we're experiencing with our sales reps. The funny thing is that this actually isn't a quote from 2016. It is from CIO Magazine, but it's a quote from CIO Magazine from 2001. And there's a link there right at the bottom if you so desire to go ahead and read the article. It's kind of funny. They use Blockbuster as a case study within this article about how well CRM can be implemented. But the truth of the matter is that the conversations you're having right now with your end users about CRM are the same conversations people were having in the late 90s and the early 2000s over the last 10 or 15 years. And the reason is because and this is kind of a compilation of data from the sources below. There's been a failure rate for CRM implementations that is staggering as opposed to any other type of software. And it's not that the CRM fails. It's not that you click a button that doesn't work. It's not that you fill in a field and it doesn't work. The issue is that the executives believe that the lack of adoption of the CRM is the paramount reason for failure. Because if people aren't using the CRM, if they're not updating the data, it's not valuable to the organization, it's not valuable to the process, whatever process you're working in. And this is something that crosses all boundaries, that crosses all verticals. Doesn't matter if you're selling Xerox copiers, or you're selling software, or you're selling industrial widgets. This is whatever, and it doesn't even matter whatever CRM you're using, whether it be Salesforce or another. This is pretty standard across the industry. People that are admins for CRMs have this issue with them. And that's why, even after so many years of CRM, when you talk to an admin, when you talk to a CRM admin, one of the things that they're most interested in talking about is how do we get more people to adopt? How do we get better adoption? Even after all these years of technological innovations. Now, there are some top dislikes about CRM, and we compiled this information again from another couple of sources. But what you would normally think are the reasons why people don't like to use CRM are not really the reasons. Out of 100% of the people that were asked these particular questions, what do they dislike about their CRM? These were the numbers that had, poor support, doesn't integrate well, inflexible. But when you look at the top, over 75% of CRM users have an issue actually using the CRM, actually clicking the icon, alt-tabbing into the application. They have a hard time learning it because the screens are funky, or they don't know what the fields are, or it's I have to load another application, or my web browser is closed, or I've got 16 applications up already, and it's hard for it to use. So 75% of the problems with CRM have nothing to do with anything that Salesforce administrators are doing, which is creating a great application or a great platform that's hopefully used and valuable to many different people. It has to do with the actual existence of CRM itself. And that's really a hard boulder to push uphill. If you've already have 75% of the people that you're trying to go ahead and work with within a CRM already having this kind of opinion, saying, "Oh, I'm already kind of iffy about this." So when we talk about the brutal truth about CRM, it really is, since the turn of the century, since the late 1990s. The way end users feel about CRM has not changed. And this is regardless of the technological advancement and regardless of the years of best practices that have been brought in. Adoption of CRM is as an important issue in 2017 as it was in 2007 and as it was in 1997. And we believe that, and that's kind of why we developed Zinbit the way we did. We believe that this has an actual true statement. We dug up some information about how CRMs are actually used, and this was from these are Salesforce numbers here. And people utilize CRM to enter data just to satisfy reporting. About 27% of the people that use CRM just do it just to satisfy reporting. They don't find any value in it. They don't ever look at a report or look at a dashboard. A quarter of the people that utilize CRM are just doing it because they're told to enter the data for reporting. Over 79% of people that utilize CRM enter the same data in multiple systems. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But if they're entering data into a CRM, they're also entering in another application. And there's nothing that salespeople like more than to do two things when they can do one. So you can imagine, if you already have that preconceived kind of way of thinking, why you're not interested in really adopting CRM. And when you talk about service orgs, 80% do duplicate data entry in different applications. Once in one application, help desk, whatever other application is, email, and then the other is it goes back into the CRM. And again, this is from a Blue Wolf study for the state of Salesforce here. So that's kind of the numbers, but let's talk about the actual stories, what actually people think, human beings, flesh and blood people think. So a little while back, I wrote an article on LinkedIn talking about why your CRM is killing you, and it had some pretty good responses. It had some great comments. It was shared a bunch of times, and the comments were very interesting. And these comments here are from salespeople. Many of them very, very good salespeople, and I highlighted a couple of them. Ellis talks about CRM systems are a failure because management doesn't provide a simple application for inputting information. It's too complex. Cole thinks it seems the solution to CRMs is to make it more complicated. You know, we've got Mark over here saying the CRM has changed the role and it's become more of a CYA tool for managers. And then John, when you go down there, he wrote a book on the comment, and he said, but his big thing is he believed entering data in CRMs is free labor performed by sales reps. So when you're tasked with driving adoption within your organization, and you're really being pushed to go ahead and actually get people to utilize the CRM and interact with the CRM, this is what you're up against. And we understand that. This is kind of the feeling people have when it comes to utilizing the CRM. So this is all great. So what's the answer? Because we all know that there's a problem with adoption. We've kind of identified the issue, and we've kind of identified why there's an issue, and it's almost it's a systemic issue when it comes to dealing with people that are utilizing CRMs like Salesforce. So what's the answer? Well, we believe the answer lies in each individual user. Really what that means is it's called focusing on the user. And we're going to talk a little bit about focusing on what the user does and where the user does it, creating a culture that focuses on the user that will then drive your adoption of Salesforce through the roof here. So Derek, that sounds great. Well, how do we create that culture? Well, again, focusing on the user, what this means is investing the time in trying to develop and understand the daily activities as a foundation of how you look to pursue the implementation of CRM. And this just isn't something that I would love to say that I went ahead and thought of it, but this is something coming directly from Salesforce and what they've understood, and they need to know that the end users need to feel they need to have more ownership. And we've all been through this. We've all been through a lot of it where we've set up committees, we've talked to end users about how things should look. But what this really moves a little bit further than that. What this is talking about is looking at where work is being done within each user persona and putting CRM there. So if you're working in this application, put CRM there. If you're working in this application, put CRM there. Making, again, utilizing our title, being Houdini and making CRM invisible to the end user's process. Now, a lot of people try to attempt to do this, but very few succeed, and we think that's because there's some specific things that people miss out when they're planning to that. The first is that CRM users need to feel, and I'll put air quotes around feel, successful in their use of technology. It's not enough that it works. People have to feel that it works. And yes, this may seem like salespeople are kind of unique snowflakes, but this is for everyone. That everyone that utilizes technology in some level or other need to feel successful with it, or they're not going to use this, or they're not going to use it, regardless of the value that it provides them, right? If they don't feel successful, this is why people quit diets after 3 weeks. This is why people get into exercise regimes in January, but they quit by February, because they don't feel successful within the first couple of weeks or days. So they go ahead and move on to something else. This is the same thing. This is the same psychological aspect. So people need to feel successful in their use of technology. Now I'm not splitting the atom by telling you this. Adoption is critical to the success or failure of the CRM. As you probably have addressed yourselves, you can create wonderful dashboards and amazing reports. But if nobody's putting data into them, there are just so many ones and zeros, right? So what we have found is less is more, meaning the less people have to, again, air quote, use CRM, the higher the adoption. If I'm not alt-tabbing into Salesforce and going into fields and entering data, but I'm still utilizing it, I'm getting that data in another application that I'm more comfortable in, though by definition there's higher adoption, because if I'm not thinking about it and it's being done for me, that's a lot easier for me than having to go somewhere else to try to do it. So the last place that people really miss, and this kind of ties it all in, is where are your CRM users spending most of their time? Right? What application, what area in your organization, what resource are your end users spending most of their time? And if they are there, your best bet for adoption, for raising adoption within Salesforce, for your Salesforce, is to go there. So let's talk about where the work is done. Average time spent in the CRM, and this is across all CRMs, but for American workers, the average daily time spent in CRM is about 45 minutes. The average daily time spent in email is over 4 hours. And if you include mobile in that, if you include mobile applications and the ability to carry around your smartphone and have access to work email all the time, you're talking literally 24/7. But even if you break it down here on the desktop, hours per month, CRM versus email. If I was driving adoption of something and I wanted to go where people were, I would invariably, understandably I would go where the big orange piece of the pie is, where the majority is. I go to the 80%. I go to where they're spending most of their time in order to do that. And that's the whole point of this kind of conversation, is that we determine that since email is the primary application that most Salesforce users, nay, most people spend their time in on a daily basis, that's where you need to bring CRM, and you need to bring it there effectively in order for people to use it, and you need to make it invisible to their process. So what we're going to do now is we're going to examine some real-world nuts and bolt ways you can do that. Enough with the strategy, enough with the 30,000-foot view. We're going to talk about some real workflows. We're going to talk about a sales rep workflow working at his desk in email. We're going to talk a mobile field rep that's utilizing their smartphone. And we're going to talk about a support rep working on the support desk. These are three personas, three people that are probably Salesforce users for you right now. And they're probably the same people, some of them at least, that you sent that email I talked about at the beginning, where you're reminding them to update Salesforce, or maybe doing something a little bit more forcible than just a remind. But these are the people, and we're going to talk about their workflows, and we're going to talk about how you can make CRM invisible to those workflows and make it valuable for them in order to use. So we're going to go talk about the sales rep first. So here's John. He's a sales rep. He's primarily worried about pipeline forecast and closing opportunities. Now, studies say that John is part of the 85% of Salesforce users that identify data entry as the worst part of their job. Now, personally, I know John. I could probably say, look in the mirror, I see John when I look into the mirror. I have been a salesperson to get by, to do the bare minimum to get by, or I would do none if I could get away with not updating Salesforce. I looked at it as a burden as opposed to something helping me, right? So this is a non-sugar-coated look at what a sales rep thinks, but I think it's important and invaluable for us to take a look at. This is the mentality that we're dealing with. People, John doesn't want to use Salesforce because he looks at it as a burden. So let's take a look at John's workflow. And when John's sitting at his desk, this is his primary workflow. He's working on a new opportunity. He gets an email, or he gets from an email prospect or a phone prospect or something, but he's sitting at his desk and he's getting that stuff. So then he responds. And then he's setting meetings, setting internal resource, scheduling internal resource. He's creating follow-up tasks. He's creating quotes. He's doing proposals. He's maybe doing a web conference like this to demo the solution. And when he's all done with all that, he goes on to his next email. You notice what you don't see here. You don't see Salesforce anywhere, because Salesforce isn't part of John's sales workflow. He's looking at it as a reporting opportunity, an opportunity to get out of the box that he's created for himself here and have to go into a different box to talk about what he's been doing in this box. And he doesn't like it. So how can we do like Houdini and create a way where John can go ahead and still stay where he is within his workflow and utilize the power of Salesforce? Well, let's take a look at this Houdini example. And we're going to go through a workflow example here. So here's an email that John gets from his boss, Maxine Curry, right? And it says, can we all be sure to update our ops in Salesforce today? We need to make sure the close date is current as possible because we're running the forecast report tonight. Yeah, you probably never ever seen or wrote an email like this, but this salespeople get this type of email all the time. And in the regular world, in the non-Houdini world, in the regular world, this would require me to go ahead and Alt-Tab into my browser or open my browser, open up Salesforce. If I'm not already logged in, I have to find my opportunities, and then I have to go into each screen of my opportunities and edit all of that information. Or I could select them all and do a mass edit and just move them all out a month to make it really easy, but that doesn't do anything for my forecast because that's just bogus information, but I'm just getting it done, right? I'm getting it off my plate. So here's the issue. How do we bring Salesforce to John in order for him to fulfill this issue that Maxine has brought to his attention? Well, we bring Salesforce to him where he's working, in his inbox. So you see here with Zenbit for Outlook, because I have Salesforce, my doorway to Salesforce right here, I would simply go up and I would click the My Opportunities button. And this is the example of the button here is a $sign. So the My Opportunities button gets clicked, and lo and behold, all of my opportunities show up in this screen. And not just in view, but it would allow me to go ahead and view and edit each opportunity. So I can view and edit each opportunity by clicking the A. I go ahead and view the opportunity. I can change the close date. I can update the close date, and then I can go on to the next opportunity. I can literally go through my entire pipeline from this email from Maxine, update my information without ever stepping foot out of Salesforce, or excuse me, out of email. Take a bow. You're now Houdini admin. You've created an opportunity to make CRM invisible to John and helping him with his particular workflow needs. With that, let's take a look at Judy. Now, Judy is a mobile rep. She's never in the office, and she's part of those. She's part of the organization that says 55% of which say that they access sales applications exclusively through smartphones and tablets, right? So a big issue for Judy is contacts, and what I mean by that is that she is at the client meeting, she's back at the office, she's at the Starbucks, she's at the airport, and she's going back and forth. She's getting information, phone numbers, email addresses, these contacts, and they're all over the place. And the issue happens is when Judy needs to make a call or to send an email to someone, how can she be sure that whatever's in that smartphone is the actual information that she needs to use? And what I mean by that is, if we take a look at this workflow in this Houdini example, is that Judy gets an email from her client. She's on her phone, and she gets an email from her client. She goes, please call me as soon as possible. Your $1 billion sale is in trouble. This is a big issue for Judy, right? So, but if I'm on my phone, if I'm on my regular phone, I may not have Maxine's number. I may not have Maxine's number on my smartphone, right? I may not have Maxine as a contact. That information is locked in Salesforce for me. So how do I get there? Do I have to go to another app? Do I have to do something else? It's causing me all sorts of problems. Well, with a Zenbit mobile app, what you're able to do is simply by clicking the email and taking a look, you have access in real time to the full Salesforce record, which includes the updated email address and the updated phone number. And because we are a mobile application on mobile phones, all Maxine has to do is to put her finger right on that 555-555-1215, and it will automatically dial the number. So literally what we've been able to do is we've been able to go ahead and create a workflow where Maxine can stay on her mobile device and get accurate, up-to-date information from Salesforce directly. Now, this is great if you utilize Zen Mobile, but maybe you say, Derek, I'm not a Zen Mobile client. I have an iPhone and I like using Outlook for iOS. Well, that's fine, because what we've accomplished with what a product or a part of our solution, which we call Contact Sync, is we have a back-end synchronization set up for all your Salesforce contacts that not only synchronize with your desktop email and your desktop contacts, but also your mobile contacts. So here, if you're in your iPhone Outlook application, you simply click Maxine's name, and you click Maxine's name, and Maxine's contact information comes over, and Judy puts that same finger over there, and all of a sudden there is the most up-to-date phone number to contact Maxine. So now I have immediate access to my contact record from my cell phone, not from a separate application, from my email, but directly from my email. Take a bow. You have you've created a little bit of Salesforce Houdini for your mobile sales rep. So the third workflow we were going to take a look at was your Salesforce user Cindy. Now Cindy is a support rep, and she feels, and what she feels is she needs to be successful closing cases and working with customers and providing the best service possible. She's also part of that 85% that looks at data entry as the worst part of her job. She's getting people calling her, emailing her all the time with problems. So she needs to be able to solve them relatively quickly. So let's take a look at Cindy's workflow. So yeah, so she's taking calls, she's getting emails, she's on chat, and she has to work with clients. And then after that, she has to update or look in Salesforce to see what's been going on with cases and everything else like that. So if we take a look at her Houdini example, here she gets an email from Maxine. She goes, hey, can I get an update on my blankety blank case number? And she gives her case number. You know, like today, Maxine wants to know. So in the world as it exists now, how does this happen? Well, what your customer support rep has to do is they have to go from their email and go into Salesforce, look up the case, find the information, do the searching, pull that information, then get back into email, contact Maxine again, maybe call her on the phone. You know, a lot of movement. But with Zenbit, for Outlook, your customer support rep simply clicks Maxine's name, and what she's able to see is not only the sales opportunities, which are important to salespeople, but she's a customer support. She sees the cases, and she sees that this is case number 1338. She sees it's still waiting for customer. Oh, that's interesting. Well, let me go ahead and view or edit that and see what that looks like. Oh, the thingamajig was discombobulated and everything ended up working. Waiting on Maxine to accept our meeting request. So a meeting request was sent to Maxine, and she didn't accept it yet, and because they want to go ahead and show her that the filters work now. So if I go back here, I can see, yes, there I can see under this particular case, here are the open activities. I could view the event here, or I could bust out the real, to full version Salesforce, and I can even see that the meeting has actually been set up here, and here's a task that is followed up as well that's in progress that I could go ahead and work on as well. So now, simply from reading the email, I have amassed all this information on this particular case. So my next step to contact Maxine can either be email or phone, but I can do it immediately, and I can do it all from the application I spend most of my time in anyways, which is my email. And then again, take a bow, because you've made CRM invisible to your end user. So really what we're talking about here in processes like this is focusing on the user, providing your organization the ability to whatever whatever you're looking at, whatever a user needs, whatever that thing is that makes their job easier, that gives them the biggest headache. Focusing on that particular issue or that particular workflow will almost certainly guarantee you a happy user, but it will also provide you a capability to increase your level of adoption. Because what we have found with these examples, and these examples are real-world examples that we gleaned from customers ourselves that have adopted our solution set, is that when you make it easy and when you make it valuable, more people will utilize it. And that's really, at the end of the day, what you're all striving to do, is to drive adoption. So how do you be Houdini? How can you be Houdini? Derek, what's the secret sauce? What is the thing that I need to do as an admin in order to go ahead and make Salesforce invisible to my end user? Well, whatever it is, and again, I don't know your business. I can't tell you, what your I can tell you a little bit about your personas, but your individuals and the people you work with. I can't tell you the specifics, but what I can tell you, that they most likely believe the CRM provides them little or no perceived value, right? So what you have to do is you have to figure out a way to restructure it to bring value back to their process. And that means having conversations, and that means maybe mapping a few workflows. But invariably what we think it means is it means bringing Salesforce into email, where people are spending most of their time anyways. And I think that's how we're able to make Salesforce invisible to the end user. Because while it's not easy being green, wouldn't you love the capability of, instead of having all of those mean salespeople saying rotten and nasty things about CRM, it would be great to have a salesperson write something like that on LinkedIn. That now the CRM is invisible to their sales process, and their CRM admin is an absolute hero. And because at the end of the day, we understand how difficult the job is of a CRM admin, of a Salesforce admin. And again, wrangling cats and trying to get them to do what's required is definitely not the easiest job in the world. I think there's something about a 92% frustration rate among Salesforce admins across the board with their day-to-day jobs. So what we hope to go ahead and provide you is a little insight in how people and how organizations are making CRM invisible to their end users in order to drive adoption. And with that, I'll go ahead and open up for questions, or if anyone has any real world examples or questions regarding CRM adoption, Salesforce adoption.
Thanks, Derek. And if everyone would like to type any questions that you may have into the questions pane, we will be sure to address those. So we do have one question here, and it is related to the mobile app. So we have the Android that will be available at the 1st of May, and we also have the iOS app that we will be releasing at the end of this month. Thank you for asking about that.
Fantastic.
And Derek, we do have one other question kind of related to user adoption. Do you find that customers have particular reports that they can use to calculate their usage today compared to their use of Zenbit?
Well, yes. I mean, we do have some. As far as we do have some information in regards to using, how people are utilizing Salesforce now as they have brought in Zenbit. Some customers, we have noticed there's an increase of adoption of upwards of 300% when it comes to bringing in. I will tell you, our most common success story when it comes to adoption is a redeployment of Salesforce. When someone has been utilizing Salesforce in an organization for a while, maybe a couple years, they haven't got the adoption that they wanted, so they reintroduce Salesforce and they bring in Zenbit as the main focal point to where people will be doing data entry and where people will be interacting with Salesforce. And we find that when you have that level of when you're driving them to that panel on the right-hand side, you're providing them the mobile access and all of that. We do see those skyrocket. But we can definitely, if someone is interested in taking a look at some of those case studies or that, please feel free to contact us and we can go ahead and provide you those.
Derek, we have one other question, and that is related to, can you discuss just briefly some of the differences between the Zenbit application versus the Salesforce application?
Sure. Well, I love Salesforce. We work Salesforce. We're built on Salesforce. And Salesforce works great because you pay for it. And the issue with the Salesforce app and most of the Salesforce email apps that have been in is sometimes they don't work as advertised. Now there is a great deal of adoption issue when it comes to rolling out that tool when it does not work as advertised. You have one chance to make a great impression. So the issue most people have, whether it be Salesforce for Outlook or Salesforce IQ, is that the slightest issue with that app, of it not working, of it breaking down Outlook, of it doing something else, not updating the fields, people tend to push it away and say, no, I'm not going to use it anymore. It's not going to work well for me. The way we've designed our app, if you go ahead and trial it and take a look at it, it's a very lean app. It's a very thin app. It's not a lot of pop-ups. It's not a lot of windows. It's developed specifically to be working within an email, within an email panel. It's not an afterthought. The technology it's built on was developed first in about 2009. Where the company that Zenbit sprung from was an Outlook application developing company, which we developed ERP and ECM applications within Outlook and within other email readers to interface that way. So we've been working with Outlook and email probably longer than any other organization out there trying to integrate things with email. So we took all of that kind of institutional knowledge 2 years ago, and we poured it into what we do now, which is making Salesforce more usable by bringing them into the email. But at the end of the day, I can tell you 750 things that are great about us and not about those other applications. The best way to find that out is to trial them side by side, is to take a look. I'm in my 40s, so I know what the Pepsi challenge is. So do the side by side, take a look. Utilize Salesforce for Outlook, Salesforce IQ for a little while, then do the 14-day trial of Zenbit, take a look at that, download it, see how that works, and then decide for yourself. One of the other things we do is we do provide within our application, we don't outsource or offload our technical support to your help desk or to any other help desk. Every Zenbit user within the application has direct access to our customer success team. They can interact with direct chat, they can interact with phone, they can interact with email, but if there's a problem with Zenbit, if they forget how to enter in information in a field, they forget how to file an email, they can deal directly with us. And that's something that we provide all of our organizations and all of the end users. And that really is a big differentiator when it comes to if you've utilized other apps having to work with technical support on that. So, but again, at the end of the day, it's a long way of saying, don't believe what a salesman says in a webinar. Please feel free to go ahead and try for yourself.
Great. So I don't know if we have any other questions, although any of you are welcome to type those in if you do have them. And we want to thank all of you for joining us today. We, again, are going to be recording the session, and we'll have that link available to everyone very soon, and we'll make sure that everyone gets a copy of that. And just want to, again, thank all of you for joining. I did send the link over. If you guys want to check Zenbit out, we'd love for you to do that.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody. And please feel free to reach out to us for more information. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.